name's Amanda Lennon and this is update number 20 in my Ask Amanda series of free HR updates for small employers and employees who've been impacted by coronavirus in the UK. As part of the Prime Minister's latest lockdown announcement for November, he confirmed that the furlough scheme, otherwise known as the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, is being extended in November. And that was quite a surprising development because the scheme was due to end on the 31st of October and to be replaced by the Job Support Scheme with effect from the 1st of November. This means that the Job Support Scheme has now been extended to start in December once the extended furlough scheme comes to an end, unless of course the government decides to extend the furlough scheme again or introduce some other measure. In terms of the extension to the furlough scheme, the good news is that as long as the employee was on the employer's RTI payroll submission as at the 30th of October, that employee will be eligible to be furloughed, whether or not they've been furloughed before. This is really good news because previously the cut-off for new entrants to the furlough scheme was the 30th of June. The other element of good news is that the government has confirmed that during November, the furlough grant available to employers will be 80% of the employee's wages capped at £2,500 per month, and in return the employer is required to contribute national insurance contributions and employers' pension contributions. So that takes us back to the level of the grant that we saw in August. I know of many employers who are planning to implement the job support scheme as of today, the 1st of November, so there will be more work to do now in going back to your workforce and looking at whether they could be re-furloughed instead, as long as they were on your RTI submission as at the 30th of October. It means, therefore, that you could extend the period of furlough or place new people on furlough for the month of November. And the furlough scheme is also more generous than the job support scheme. So November represents another month under which employers can claim more from the government as a subsidy than they would be able to under the job support scheme, and equally employees will earn more under the extended furlough scheme than the job support scheme. So my suggestion for employers is that during the month of November, once you've decided to adopt the extended furlough scheme or not, you then reassess your workforce in time for the job support scheme being implemented in December and check whether you need to make any changes compared to the arrangements you were going to put in place from the 1st of November before this announcement was made. In terms of who is eligible for the extended furlough scheme, the eligibility criteria are designed to broadly mirror those in place previously, but effectively the extension applies to any type of worker, so employees, part-time workers, full-time workers, temporary workers, even agency workers. And it also offers an opportunity for employers to rehire any employees who were, for example, made redundant, as long as they were on the RTI payroll submission as at the 30th of October. So that will cover very recent redundancies with effect from the 31st of October. There was also some good news in the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday about business grants for employers. So where your business has been forced to close due to local or national restrictions, for example, the lockdown from the 5th of November, which will require pubs and restaurants to close, then properties with a rateable value of £15,000 or under could be eligible to receive a grant of £1,334 per month or £667 per 2 weeks. If your property has a rateable value of between £15,000 and £51,000, the grant could be worth £2,000 per month or £1,000 for every 2 weeks. And for properties with a rateable value of £51,000 or over, the grant is £3,000 per month or £1,500 per 2 weeks. The government has devolved responsibility for these grants to the relevant local authority, so you should get in touch with your local authority if you have any queries on that grant and ask how to apply. The new guidance has also confirmed that flexible furloughing remains an option during the month of November, so that's another option that employers could consider. We're awaiting further guidance from the government on the detail of the extended furlough scheme, including how to claim for the extension. So as soon as I know what that entails, I'll produce a further update. I know many of you employers have been planning for what happens when the furlough scheme ends on the 31st of October. The extension to the furlough scheme now gives you another option to consider and an opportunity to perhaps take a breather and look at what is needed for the future of your business in the hope of preserving jobs. So you've got another month in which to do that before the job support scheme starts. I'm also hearing from more and more employers that they are considering the concept of short-term layoff. That is a concept that we do have in UK law, but it's not something that I've come across for many years. And it's not entirely clear at the moment, because there have been no test cases on it, whether the furlough scheme and all the concepts involved in that are intended to supersede the previous concept of layoffs, which in my experience are not really used anymore. Having said that, it looks like layoffs are another option. So if you need any advice at all in this area, please do get in touch with me. For the self-employed, there remains the opportunity to apply for the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme grant, because that has been extended between the 1st of November and the 30th of April 2021. So the extended grant will provide support to the self-employed who are eligible in the form of 2 grants. Each are available for 3-month periods, the first from November to January and the second from February to April. To be eligible for this grant extension, self-employed people, including if you're a member of a partnership, must have been previously eligible for the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme for the first and second grants under that scheme, although they don't have to have previously claimed those grants. And they must also declare that they're able to continue to trade, and either their trading is currently affected by coronavirus through reduced demand, or they were previously trading but had to temporarily stop because of coronavirus. The issue for many self-employed people, including myself, is that the eligibility criteria for claiming these grants, even the first 2 grants under the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, will limit those people who've only recently become self-employed. The eligibility criteria for the first and second grants under this scheme were as follows. Firstly, self-employed individuals and members of partnerships had to have submitted their self-assessment tax return for the tax year 2018 to 19 by the 23rd of April 2020. They also had to have traded in the tax year 2019 to 2020, intend to continue trading in the tax year 2020 to 21, and carry on a trade which has been adversely affected by coronavirus. The HMRC clarified that adversely affected by coronavirus can mean that your supply chain has been interrupted, your business has fewer or no customers compared to previously, your staff are unable to work, one or more of your commercial contracts have been cancelled, or protective equipment was purchased by you to comply with social distancing rules in relation to your business. If you are eligible for the extended grant, the first grant covers 40% of your average monthly trading profits, paid out in a single instalment covering 3 months' worth of profits, and that's capped at £3,750 in total. The government has indicated in its latest guidance that it is going to provide broadly the same level of support for the self-employed as is being provided for the employees who can benefit from the job support scheme. The second grant will therefore cover the period February to end of April, and the government has said that it will review the level of the second grant and set that in due course. It's important to note that the grants are taxable, they're not free money, and they're also subject to national insurance contributions. For those of you like me who are not eligible though, unless you can claim for one of the local authority grants in terms of the rateable value of your property, then you're really left at looking at other options, including financial support through the job centre, whether that's perhaps through job seekers allowance or universal credit or a mixture of other benefits. So it's always worth checking with your job centre to see if there's any other support that you might be able to receive. By extended grant, I mean the grant that has already been announced on the 22nd of October. There isn't a further grant that was announced in the Prime Minister's statement last night about the lockdown. That's it for today's update. As soon as the government announces anything more, I will be in touch with another update. In the meantime, as always, my contact details follow now.